Yá'át'ééh. Good morning, my relatives. Today is Tuesday, May 7th already, believe it or not. And I'm sitting here with my second cup of coffee. And I'm thrilled. I get to talk today with Jennifer Bate, who lives in Gallup, New Mexico. And she is a court monitor for MADD. And she is coordinating a run walk, 5K, 10K, and longer walk run in support of raising awareness regarding the issue of drunk driving, as well as trying to work towards bringing healing to not only the issues of addiction, but also the loss that comes from people who are lost due to accidents from drunk driving. And so she's going to be my guest today. A little side note: Jen is also my cousin, and so she is a relative on my wooden shoe side, Sinbake Dina. And so I'm excited that she'll be able to join us today and have this conversation with me. But before I begin, I want to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from Washington or Washington, D.C. These are Piscataway lands. I moved here with my family about a decade ago, and want to just honor the Piscataway. I want to thank the Piscataway for their stewardship of these lands, and I want to just state how humbled I am to be living, breathing, and moving on these lands today. So, my Piscataway relatives. So let me bring on Jen, and we can talk more about the work that she's doing regarding the Run Like Mad event in Gallup, New Mexico. That's coming up in September this next fall. So Jen, Yá'át'ééh, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So as I said, you're my cousin, obviously. So we've known each other a long time. I'm sure we could go on for quite a while regarding some stories and things we could easily talk about. But I want to we're on my second cup of coffee, and you don't drink coffee. And you're holding up your camera with the cup you're drinking your beverage out of this morning, and so you can't even have that in front of you. But I remember this was a couple years ago. We met in Farmington, New Mexico. I forget why I was there. And whenever I travel, I like to meet people. I usually just suggest going to a coffee shop, and I had forgotten that you drink coffee, and so I said, let's meet at Starbucks. And we got a Starbucks, and I forget if I ordered you a coffee or if you just ordered your own coffee, and you drank it. And first of all, Starbucks coffee is fairly strong and it's highly caffeinated. And I just remember you got fairly wired.
Yeah, I remember that too. It took me about 2 hours to drink that one cup of coffee, and I was so hyper.
So anyway, you had a two. Oh, I think you were actually doing some court monitoring in Farmington, which is why you were there. And I think, there doing some work, speaking or something. But you had an hour and a half drive back to Gallup, so I'm sure that kept you awake pretty much the whole way. But anyway, welcome to my second cup of coffee. It's very good to have you here. And I want to talk about this event that you're hosting in Gallup. I know, first, let me just introduce a little bit. You're a runner. You've run for most of your life. And I just started running like a month and a half ago. And I remember when I called you a few weeks ago and told you I was running, you were so excited. You were so proud that I was actually out running. And one of the things that, if people have read my book, Unselling Truth, in chapter 11, I share some of my story. And I share about the death of my brother in high school. And my brother, David, who is about a year and a half older than me. So he's about a year and a half older than me. And he was a runner. He ran cross country, he ran track, and he loved to just get out and run. And as I've started running, and for me, my whole attitude growing up was, unless I'm dribbling a basketball or someone's chasing me, I'm not interested in running. That wasn't fun for me. I didn't want to do it. I think I ran track primarily just to stay in shape for basketball. But when I started running about a month ago, and I go out every morning for about a mile and a half run, I'm learning what not only a calming discipline it is, but even what a spiritual discipline it is. Like, my brother used to talk about going out and just being able to think and kind of get at peace and just really enjoy running through the nature. We live kind of on the edge of town. He would run through those dirt roads near our house. And the more I'm running now, I've only been running for like a month and a half, the more I'm actually bummed I missed a chance to go running with my brother. I missed the opportunity to go out and run with him when we were in high school. But you would go out running with him fairly regularly. And I remember that was one of the things you said that even got you started in running. So I'd love just to hear about how running has been a part of your life and what are some of the benefits that you see to running.
Okay. Well, it is really interesting that David is the one that introduced me to running and got me started running. Remember he was a senior in high school when I was in seventh grade, and he told me, "Hey, let's go run a mile. I want to see how fast you can run a mile." And so we were out there on the west side of Gallup by the truck stops, and he said, "All right, ready, go." And we ran, and he timed me, and he would take me out running sometimes, and he encouraged me to join cross country, even told me what kind of shoes to buy. And that's what started me in cross country in seventh grade. And he was always cheering for me and encouraging me, and he would take me out. And I just thought it was the greatest thing in the world that a senior in high school paid attention to me. I was a little seventh grade punk, and he would take me, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful that he did, because running has been a huge part of my life. I always refer to it as my sanity, because when I feel like I'm going to lose it sometimes, or just everything's bottled up inside of me, I know that if I go for a run, I'm going to feel better. And my kids, when they were small, they actually got to the point too where they would be like, "Mom, go ahead, go running. We'll be fine," because they knew that I was going to be a better person when I came back. And so all through high school, cross country, track, helped in basketball and everything. And my coaches, my coach Elmer Yazi, had a big part of my life, and he's still a friend of mine today. I still call him coach because he was a life changing coach. And then when my kids were growing up, and Tanya had her Canalta, that's a big part of running too. In the morning with the girls, and everybody that's there, and just I can't say enough good things about it. I mean, it's just so good in so many ways, not only physically, but like you said, spiritually and just mentally. Um, all runners understand, and you get together for a race, and you just have that camaraderie and understanding that how much running means to everybody, and just to be able to get it out, let it all out on the road, and then come back to your regular life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're organizing this event, and I'm going to share the link here in the chat. It's an event with MADD. You're a court monitor for MADD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and the run that you're organizing, it's the first run you've organized on your own, I think you've told me. And it's a 5K, it's a 10K, and it's is it a 2 mile walk, or how far is it? There's a walk as well. I just put the link into the chat if people want to learn more about the run. But in the description of this event, you talk about not only are you trying to raise awareness regarding the issue of drunk driving, but you're also working to bring healing to, I'm assuming, both to the addiction as well as to the loss that comes from things around drunk driving. I'd love to hear a little more about what, yeah, how do you see this coming together?
So it's a really good combination of things, because a lot of the families that I talk to who have lost people in drunk driving crashes, or have been injured in crashes, they feel their biggest thing is that they feel like their loved one has been forgotten. It happened, and all this excitement goes to the issue of drunk driving. It's in the paper. It's in the front of everybody's mind, and then slowly it starts to fade away again, and then until something else happens again. And so they feel like their loved ones are forgotten. And so to be able to have a memorial for their loved ones where they can honor them, um, recognize them, and just almost like feel it, feel the pain and do something with the pain. And then when you combine that with running, um, I'm not sure exactly how to explain it, but it kind of gives you a place for that energy, and a place for that grief and sadness, and also to move forward and to heal. And so um, the healing part of it, the families get together, they have their loved ones on T-shirts, and they all run in unity for their loved one. And then also a family can come, and they're, even if they're not necessarily hurt by drunk driving crash, if they're into running, they come and they bring their family and they bring their kids, and then they get there, and then the kids might start a conversation. They'll be like, "What is DWI?" Or what does this mean? Or why are these people doing this? And it starts a conversation where the parents can explain to the kids, this is why they're having this run and this is what it's about, and they can tell them about it. And so all the way around, it's just a really good event for the awareness and the healing, and just to bring people together, and then even just the healthy them, have something to do. If it gets somebody involved with running and it gets them started in running, then that'll happen exactly the way it happened to me, to where it'll be a lifelong thing. So there's so many good reasons for it, and I'm so excited. It's funny because I act like the race is not until September, but I act like it's next week. I'm so excited about it. I noticed that you had your background of the shiprock, and I was thinking they just had that race on Saturday, and that race started out small, and now they're on their, this year was the 41st annual shiprock, and they have to cap it at 1,000 people. So it's just really taken off, and running here it's incredible. So many people, so many good runners, and so it's just a perfect event to have to combine both DWI awareness and healing and running. So
Yeah, the picture you're talking about, I just put it onto my background. We had it on earlier when we were preparing for it to go live. I was back in New Mexico just a couple weeks ago, at my cousin's house in Shiprock, and I went out one evening and the sun was setting. I wanted to catch the sunset behind the Shiprock. I've always wanted to do that, and I had time that evening, and I went out and took probably about 100 pictures as the sun was setting behind the Shiprock. And yeah, it's such a beautiful place. And out there, it's so wide open. It's flat. Great places to go running. The challenge is right. The reservation. It's high desert. It's around 6,000 up to 7,000 feet. So if people say Denver's the mile high city, well, the reservation's mostly almost a mile and a half high. So the air's a lot lighter, which is probably one of the reasons why we run. Even novel people are known well for running, because when you run at such high elevations, it makes running easier at lower elevations. But yeah, that Shiprock run I know is I've heard a lot about it, even just these past few years as it's been growing in popularity. What's your hope for your run? How many people would you like to see out there? When you imagine, like when you're thinking what could happen, even in this first year, this is the first year of the run, what would you love to see happen in this first year?
So it's funny you asked that, because I ordered 300 medals altogether, and some people told me I ordered too many medals, and I I'm just thinking big, and if I run out of medals, that's a great problem. If I have way too many medals, then I can save them. I don't know, but I my goal is to have this be a strong annual event that's every single year, and it has to start somewhere, just like Shipwreck did. And if I ever have to cap the run at 1,000, then I'll know that that's a good goal to have. So I don't know how many years that will take to get to that point, but that's one of my goals.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you're raising money for this run. What is the money you're raising? What is that going towards specifically? I saw on your website, and I'm going to share the link if people want to support this run. This is again, it's through MADD Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and this is the donate page. And on your page, you have a goal of $10,000. What is that money for? What are you raising that money for specifically?
So right now, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, some people know about it and some people don't. It started in 1980 with the mother whose daughter was killed in a drunk driving crash. So it's very grassroots started. And now it's in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. And it's a very strong organization, but a lot of the services in New Mexico are only in Albuquerque. We have court monitors in Las Cruces, Santa Fe, Albuquerque, and Gallup, and I also do Farmington. But some of the, like, victim services and the Power of Parents, which is a prevention program for the youth, like high schools and mid schools, those are in Albuquerque. And so my goal is to start this run and to start raising money so that MAD can have more of a presence in Gallup. We have such a need for it, and so all the great thing about the run is that all the money that we're raising will stay local in Gallup. It'll go towards services here, and it enables us to be able to give people the services they need without charging them. MADD never charges anything for the services, and so we can help families when they go through the whole court process, go through the justice system with the DWI, and then not only that, but also with the grieving part of it. The victim services department for MADD is just so incredible. They've helped people through some really rough times, and so I'm so happy to say that all the money being raised on this run is going to stay local, and I'm also happy to say that we've already gotten $7,500 towards our goal. It just hasn't shown up on the website yet, and so I'm really hoping to exceed that $10,000 goal this year because we're already over halfway there. So it's exciting.
Wow. So you've already raised 7,500.
Yeah, it's just hard because it hasn't shown up on the thing yet. I check it every day. I'm like, it's in there.
Was that from a single donation, or a lot of people just it kind of went grassroots?
So we've had a few people register, and I didn't really put out the website or anything yet until because McKinley County had a DWI race on April 27, and so I didn't want to get the races confused, and so waited until their race happened, and then we're putting it out there, and we have one girl who registered and saw the website, and then we have a $5,000 donation from Parnell Law Firm in Albuquerque, the Hurt Culvert guy.
Okay.
He donated $5,000 to the run, and then I had an individual coworker that donated $500, and then we also had Murphy Builders here in Gallup, who recently donated $2,500. So we're actually a little bit higher up than I thought. So it's coming in. It's coming in here and there from different places, and the thing I like about it is that you can donate $20 or you can donate 5,000. It's just it's whatever you want to donate, and it's all going towards the local, to help people locally.
Well, that is fantastic, Jen. I'm so grateful you're doing this. There's so many things. Even when we were talking before and we were discussing the stuff we want to talk about, one of the things I like about you, and I'm interested to see how this is going to turn up in your run, because you're organizing this, and you are a very creative person who's not afraid to kind of stretch the boundaries. I remember one time, this was a few years ago, we were talking, and you were working with a team that you were trying to develop some camaraderie in, and you were having trouble getting them to work together. You were having some trouble getting some things to come together. And so you brought them to, you had this setup where you had an old junker car brought up, and you brought your team there and you gave them sledgehammers and you let them kind of demolish this car together. And I thought that is really creative because it gives both an outlet for energy. It gives I mean, tell me about that. What were some of the benefits that came of that exercise?
Oh man, I will never forget that. So I saw that at an event, and I thought the same thing. I was like, hey, I really want to do that. That just looks so good to me. And so, and it was funny you said sledgehammers because it wasn't sledgehammer; it was baseball bats.
Okay.
And so it worked so good because even the people that are very shy and quiet and everything, when they saw how you could just slam it, like no rules, no boundaries, just go for it, and they get a bat in their hand and be like, bam, and just, and there's something about it. I don't know. Even when you get mad at your computer, you feel like throwing it out the window, things like that, and just to be able to go for it and take out your anger. Um, so yeah, after that, everybody was pretty much bonded and ready to talk.
So I'm curious to see how you're going to use that creative energy in your coordination of this run and as you bring things, because I've known you my entire life and I love the creative energy you bring into all the projects you work on, all the things that you're invested in. You do a fantastic job, and so I'm thrilled to watch not only what happens this year with this event, but in future years. And I'm sure, I am quite positive this event will have the Jennifer Bates flair or touch to it in a few years, and it will become unique in some way. I'm not quite sure how yet, but I'm looking forward to watching that. Anything else you want to say here as we kind of wrap up this time, Jen? Anything you want to remind people or touch or highlight before we end?
Um, no, I really appreciate you having me on your show, even though I don't drink coffee. You know, um, But I really appreciate it, Mark. And I have so many. One thing I did want to mention too is that when I very first started doing this, I went to a couple people and asked them, if they could help me donate stuff or whatever. And a former boss of mine, who owns Camille's Cafe here in Gallup, right off the bat, before anybody really knew about the run or whatever, he bought a huge inflatable for us. $3,000. He just bought it because he believes in it. He believes in me. He believes in the program. He believes in MADD, and he believes in the community, what we need here. And so we have the big inflatable, and it's just exciting to have all this stuff happening. And I'm just looking forward to it just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This year we have a lot of expenses because it's our first year, but next year we won't have to buy all those things again. We'll have everything we need for next year. And so I'm just really looking forward to it becoming a big event, and a place where, we have some families lined up that have been through some horrific, uh, tragic losses with DWI, and they're going to be there, and they're going to tell their story, and they're going to um, start that conversation. And so it, it's kind of a hard balance because it's going to be a good event. There's going to be fun things, but it's also very sad and solemn event too. So it's kind of a mixture of both. But that's what healing is, and so that's what I'm hoping that people will be able to um, know that they're not alone, because there's going to be other families there going through the same thing, and they can bond with those families, and that's where that healing can start. So I'm looking forward to it in so many ways, and it's just so exciting to have it finally be happening. So I hope people can come out for it and put it on their calendars.
Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking time to come today and talk about this. I'm definitely going to come back to this next fall and maybe have you on after the race is over and hear how it went and how all the details went with it. For those of you who want, Jen and I are going to do a follow-up Q&A on my Patreon site. And so if you want to join that Q&A, you can join it live. It's going to be starting about 5 minutes after this live stream ends. And if you go to my Patreon site and subscribe to the Ask Questions tier, you'll be able to join the conversation there. And Jen and I are going to have a follow-up Q&A on there. And if you want to take my podcast to go and you want to just have it in your headphones and not have to watch it, but be able to listen to it, we also post the audio from all of these live streams onto my podcast site. And that is it's through Spotify, but we put it out to all of the places where you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and all the other major podcast sites. So you can definitely take it there. But Jen, thank you for joining me this morning. I'm so grateful you could sit down, and I guess I'll have a second cup of coffee and you can just talk for a little bit. But it's been so good to have you. Thanks for being here, and I hope the run goes fantastically well. My relatives, thanks for joining us this morning. Walk in beauty, and may we all learn how to walk in beauty together. And
Thanks,
hakone.
Mark.